On the next episode of Meet the Band with the BMD Interview King, catch a break with us while we show you the best of Meet the Band so far.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm the BMD and we're doing a new show on the Rogers Cable Network entitled Meet the Band and Catch a Break with me, the BMD, your host, and our first guest kicking off our first episode. Right on to my left this side is a gentleman by the name of Poetics, and we're going to ask him about his life. What does he say? What does he know? What's he doing in the industry? And let's kick it off. Where did the name Poetics come from? Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, sir. Somewhere in the world, tell us who you are.
Hello from wherever you are. My name is Poetics the Poet. It's a little redundant, but that's how good I am. I had to give myself the name twice. First of all, let me just say thank you. Thank you for considering me, having you part of the show. We've had a great rapport in the past, so I look forward to everything we're about to do here. I'm excited to be here, so thanks again. Where did I get the name Poetics? I got this in high school. I was that kid that did the spoken word poetry, had the witty words and the witty slang and knew how to put it all together to make it sound good. I did a couple of stage shows where I did some spoken word in high school and got a lot of girls that way, so it helped out in high school. But that's basically where they donned me Poetics. As soon as they heard that I love poetry and I can rap, that's pretty much where it stopped.
Wow.
Because I'm larger than life now. Mega
Wow.
Sean.
My attraction to you back, we've talked 2 or 3 times on the different radio gigs. My attraction to you was the great chemistry, the great people person you are. And I'm not pumping up your tires or blowing smoke up. We can't say it, but you know where that other word is. But tell us about the juice. Where did the juicy come from? Is that from your parents or you just evolved from the street?
A little bit from the streets. I was in a group called Cryogenics back in the day. We were street legends because we sold our CDs on the streets up and down Queen Street and Yonge Street. Sold over 100,000 CDs from like 2004 to 2006. So Cryogenics, we were on the street. Because CDs went out of style, I started selling T-shirts in front of the Sky Dome. I love BJ's T-shirts and stuff like that. And I have a documentary out called Rise of the T-Shirt King. Not sure if you can see that. There's a documentary on YouTube and stuff. And I sold a lot of shirts. In fact, this is in the documentary. I ran into a lot of conflict. It's about just surviving without just a regular 9 to 5. I have a little knack for street hustle, but I don't like to break the law at all. I don't sell drugs. I don't do anything like that. So I decided to develop and design my own T-shirts that were a little bit edgy and sell them on the streets. I have a vendor's permit. Everything was completely legit.
So in some of the bio reading up and catching up with you, there's this term as the T-shirt king. Now you just segued, you led into my next question, but I'm going to double back a bit. How did the king of the street T-shirts, king of the T-shirts, how did the king come up?
Well, I was selling T-shirts for a while, but when the Raptors won the championship, a lot of people wanted to start to sell shirts, but they could not because they didn't have their paperwork ready. They didn't understand all the moving parts of the streets. I was already out there, so I knew you can't make a shirt that's copyright infringement. So I made a shirt that said "We Cook Curry in the 6" because we were playing Golden State and Curry played on them, and I was the only one out there selling shirts on the streets when the Raptors were winning a championship. After I've been selling shirts for years, and that came, people started saying, well, it was a bunch of us out there. We were called the 416 T-shirt Kings. But because I was the last one standing, the streets, it wasn't a name I gave myself. It was the streets that, you're the T-shirt king. There's nobody else out here. And that's how it became that way.
You know what? He's going to be the next BT Freestyle Friday champion. I appreciate that.
All right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that. Nice segue in, Stitch. So tell us how that came about and how it happened. I know it was a couple of years back, but we've been a couple of years away from each other. I think when we last spoke, you had just won the crowning title.
Yeah. Back in 2018, I got flown out to LA to compete in the BT Freestyle Friday World Championships. I ended up taking the crown home, which is up here. I actually got it here.
That's right here. Don't off the camera.
So we got it.
Oh,
so
very
it's
nice.
here hanging on the wall. We have the BT Freestyle Friday World Champion crown right here. It sits in Pickering, Ontario, believe it or not. I got flown out. And, they showed me lots of love. I got to compete against the winner of the London, England segment, the winner of the Los Angeles segment, the winner of the New York segment. I was the winner of the Toronto segment, and I ended up beating everybody in the finals on the BET Freestyle Friday stage at 106 in Park in front of the Staples Center.
Wow.
And it was iconic. It really was. You had the Staples Center in the background, palm trees, televised on national television. And yeah, till this day, they haven't had another event for 106 in Park for BT Freestyle Friday. And
wow,
so I am officially
again.
the last BT Freestyle Friday World Champion.
Which means when I beat him in a freestyle.
Now, reality, I heard something in your bio about Team Backpack.
Yeah, that was a couple years back. He was with me too. That was a couple years back. We went to New York. It was like an underground rap competition, probably one of the more famous one for being an underground thing. So we both went out there and we competed. It was just like 1,000 MCs, and you had to go and spit your best lyrics, your best 16 bars to a beat. They gave you 20 beats. It could be any of these 20 beats. You had to be prepared to spit on anything. And it was a crazy experience. I went there again with Stitch. He's the one that got me to do it.
We do all the amazing stuff together.
Yeah. So I went to LA with him, been to New York, excited to
We've done a lot of things. We've got a lot of places through the music shit.
Yeah, more to come.
Music stuff. So.
More to come.
If I got it right or wrong, correct me, please. It was like program / rock improv. So I take improv being on the spot reaction, program meaning a controlled thing with a bit of a rock flavor. But I hear some jazz and some blues listening to the song, like a real, sometimes a 40s, 50 overtone in the air. Am I right, or out to lunch?
No, I mean, as I was saying earlier, I sort of write the songs, the melody and the lyric, but I set it down with Eric. And Eric is the one who illustrates it completely, like musically. And we decide on structure at that point as well. And Eric has an amazing, knowledge of music. Like, he's one of those people, he loves music. He loves listening to music. And he does so all the time, and he always has done. And he's always wanted to be in a band just like me, just since we were little kids. And so that's down to him. It's an eclectic sound, and we've got so many songs coming that will be different to everything else we've done too. And that's sort of the idea behind The Riches, is that it's like a treasure trove, of songs. You keep digging, and the more different stuff you find, the more you realize it's going to keep surprising you. So just keep digging in there, keep looking for treasure.
So what is your belief, or the band's philosophy, if you will? What music genre do you feel the band, in your own words, representing the band, what do you believe genre that the band falls in terms of classification?
Well, I think it's probably the best is like art rock, because the way we're sort of playing with the genres so much. Like, we use genre tropes. I think that's how Eric put it. So I think art rock, because in that sense it's a bit I don't know, conceptual or something. I'm not sure, but it's hard to place it, really.
Mm-hmm. So what place that you've been to, not a specific town, what country have you really felt not only welcome but comfortable, where you can say on that bus ride home or the drive or flight home, hey, these folks really got me tonight. I was cooking with gas, and man, that made me feel good.
Well, I think for sure Canada. I mean, I love playing in Canada, and it's it's definitely a top country. But aside from Canada, I think Australia is one of my favorites from going there. I mean, I love the warm weather and the ocean and the beach, and I think when I'm there, I just maybe personally have an extra bit of glow that's happening. And I've toured there about 5 times now, and I really connect with the audience there and connect with the nature and the culture, and I feel the same love back. So, which is why I always keep going. So they're definitely top country.
So how did you know at a young age, I'm assuming, either being told or music, writing, singing came easy to you. How did you know you were good enough? I don't mean finally good enough where you're being paid now and you're doing shows overseas everywhere, but how did you know in your heart when you said, yeah, I am good enough?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I feel like as an artist and a performer, I'm probably constantly always battling that question if I'm good enough. I think that's a bit of a constant struggle as an artist. I think it takes just going out there and taking the risk and trying, and I think what most important is if I love it or not. And when I'm out there and I do it and I love it and it feels good, I'm more concerned about that than I guess if the public thinks that I'm good enough. And I know it's a tough way to think of it, and that's actually it's a tough question to answer because I'm always thinking about whether or not I'm good enough, and I always want to get better. That's my biggest.
We like to ask the good questions, sir. We like to ask the good question. How are you promoting yourself, especially attempting to stay active with the pandemic? I know it's opened up a little bit now, and maybe gigs and events are going to start up for you again. But how did you stay busy during COVID, and how did you keep, and how are you promoting yourself now?
Mm-hmm. Well, during COVID, it was the funniest thing was I was in class in Seneca, March 2020, when they said that, hey guys, I think you all need to go home. I think something is happening. And I still have the image in my head of everyone rushing to the subway and just confused at what was going on. So the first little bit of COVID was actually just finishing the program. We were the first to finish it remotely, which kind of took all the fun out of it. But it kind of gave me enough material to keep songwriting. I was fresh off my course, so I did a ton of songwriting there. And in 2020, I released my first single. And then I released my first Christmas song-ish thing at the end of 2020. And all of last year was kind of just more about understanding who I am as a musician, what I'm going to do, and what my goals really are. And part of it was I want to put out a collection of music this year. That is where my EP that I put out last year, What's to Come, came from. I couldn't go to a drummer. I couldn't go to another bass player saying like, hey guys, I need to make this music. Let's sit in a room. Let's start making music. Let's record. I didn't have the budget at that time. And also we just couldn't do that. So I got some equipment together and recorded all of the guitars, all of the bass, the vocals, everything by myself. My friend from my program mixed it and put some amazing piano and some of her vocals on it, and we put that out. So for me, it was all about releasing some music last year. And this year, after music's come out, it's been 2 parts. One, I've always been fascinated with the idea of sidemen guitarists and session players, because a lot of my favorite artists, especially Canadian artists, including the person who was my guitar teacher at Seneca, they've all made a really good and enjoyable living being guitar players for hire, whether that's on records or for other touring acts. And because I've always been so focused on honing my craft on guitar, it kind of invariably and unbeknownst to myself made me ready for such a job.
Moving along here, folks, you're listening to Meet the Band. I'm the BMD, and we are with Jay Fieldbender on our show, Meet the Band, on Rogers Television Network. Glad to have you with us. Hope you're enjoying the show. Now, you've toured a lot, and talk to us about touring. what it's like playing live in front of one person or a million people?
Yeah, we've definitely done both. Maybe not a million, but lots of people, and definitely one person is probably well. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with touring, because it can be very exhausting, and sometimes the shows don't have the payoff that you want them to. But at the same time, it also comes with some of the most exciting times I've had in my life. So it's a bit of a give and take. Longer tours, like we went on about a month and a half tour with a band called Heinz from Spain, who became some of our close friends, and it was really, really amazing. But a month and a half on the road in the States at that point with kind of the crew we were with, which was basically just us 4 guys in the band, was pretty tough, to say the least, and also a lot of money. But we loved it. It was life-changing. We grew a lot as a band on the road, and we learned a lot as well. But I would say we probably, if you want to hear a story.
I do. You're listening to Meet the Band with me, the BMD. I'm coming to you with a music video showcase. Stay tuned. So if you had to put a name on this new blending of music, what's the first title comes into your head? Not song title. What would the branding be?
I'm not sure. Normally, I just consider myself indie pop because it's just the easiest thing to say. But I've never really thought about it before or what I would title the type of music. I'm not really sure, but
I thought you would have called it Kixie Pop.
I should just call it it's just Kixie. It's just my music.
Yeah, that's a good one. Folks, you're listening to Meet the Band on Rogers Television Network. Proud to have my guest, Kixie. What a great name, great entertainment name. And we've just decided together her brand of music's going to be called Kixie Pop.
Yeah.
Is that okay? We might as well get it out there now. You're on a media.
You're right. You're
back on Meet the Band with the BMD. Folks, you're listening to the BMD on the show Meet the Band on Rogers Television Network, and I'm sitting with my guest, Marcus Davis, who plays on the band, or with the band, R&B Fusion Collective. Now, that's a bit of a mouthful. How did you arrive at that name?
Oh, it just came up.
Well, you must have thrown names around. How did you decide on that?
Well, I just use that name because, like, just the genres I like R&B music. I like jazz fusion. I like funk, all that kind of stuff. So R&B Fusion Collective, I think, is a very good description of the band. Right? It's we're playing R&B. We're doing a fusion of different types of music: rock, pop, funk, disco, that kind of stuff. And it's a band, it's a collective. So I think it's a very good description of the band. I think it's a very good description of the band.
I like the name. Collective means you're circling.
Yeah.
Everything's consumed there. So futures, where are you going in the future? If you had a crystal ball, where's the band going in the future?
Oh, probably do gigs abroad, probably UK, States, wherever we get bookings, that's where we're going to go, but definitely going abroad. But if we get more gigs in Canada, we just play in Canada.
You're back on Meet the Band with the BMD. Your style. Yeah. I noticed in the demos you sent over, your style's pretty interesting. Can you explain it?
I would say my style is just it feels Canadian like. It feels like the culture, that the slang that we talk, just growing up in parts of Brampton and Toronto and the GTA area. I feel like it's good to implement those types of things so that the demographics recognize it when they hear it and they're able to relate. So my style is just greasy, right?
Right? Good answer. Good answer. Reading the bio, I felt the word care of mental health. Can you talk a little bit about the background? It felt that you had a format message through the writing, through the singing, through the expression of the band, the vocal of the band. Talk to us about the mental health being a massive amount of issue right now in the world. What are you conveying? What are you doing about that?
You want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah. Mental health is such a big aspect in each of our lives. We've all, whether we've lived with it or experienced it or witnessed it, it is something that is a big part of who we are. And it really stretches all the way down to one of the first songs that Jack, brought to the band, The Walls Talk to Me, which I'll pass it on to you in a sec. These songs are written, about our lives and Jack's experiences living with mental health. And it really is a way for our listeners to see that they're not alone. And we don't want people to feel like they're alone. And I think that's the great thing about who we are and what we're putting out. These are songs that people can hear and say, everything's going to be okay.
So were you aware of the issue of mental health through the media presence? I don't mean your own, but just daily life. That word seems to come up every other day. Crisis, need government backing. Did you jump on board because you feel it's a weakness in the world?
No, I write about what I feel, and I felt that, and I think that we try to stay up to date with what's going on in the media and on TV and in the news, but we get a lot of our information on the ground floor. We talk to people, we hang out with our friends, we check in with our people, and especially as men, it's not something that gets spoken about enough, and it really gets pushed down to that layer of just that feeling in the pit of your stomach. And I think the only way to let that out is to have some kind of outlet, whether you like boxing or whether you're a drummer or whether you have words and you're a poet. It is some kind of way to understand and digest what is going around in your head. So that's kind of why I write about it, is because it's the only way I can feel like I'm not going freaking crazy.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I write about what I think, what I feel, and what I see and what I hear from my friends, and it's all real life experience. So if it's something that's prevalent in me and my circle, it's going to be something that's prevalent in my writing.
Good answer.
I'll add
so
to
where's the band headed? I'm sorry, Matt, did you want to jump in? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to add a quick comment myself that I currently work professionally as well. I've worked with, nonprofits, healthcare organizations, and currently work with a mental health care agency, not necessarily on the client care side, but, those are the people that I'm surrounded with at work, providing that kind of guidance and support for people who genuinely need it. And the passion, the amount of passion, the level of care that, these kinds of people provide, it's one of those things that it's a sight to behold, in my view. I think in terms of, something that, unless you're immersed in that world, either you're, providing care, you need it, or something like, or however you might be involved.
Gotcha.
It's one of those things that it might take a moment for people to really understand and have a true grasp of. And
guys, I will let you know, we've got about 5 minutes to go. Other things I want to push on, but you have been the first band, and I'm proud to say this, that have taken a few minutes to talk about the issue of mental health, because it's everywhere. And I respect the fact of you jumping in that. Hats off to you. Well done. So the door gets slammed in your face, the telephone gets abruptly hung up, or somebody at a show says, you haven't got it. So you go to bed that night, you wake up in the morning. What's your first move to take that first step forward, to use your phrase, tomorrow is a new day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like I said, I'm a firm believer in faith and everything happens for a reason. So if one door closes, there's going to be someone out there who sees your potential and will work with you. And there's opportunities everywhere. And it's just a matter of, you need to connect. And if you have that personality to make these connections and that you believe in yourself and in your dream and you have a vision, anything is possible.
Good answer. Our last question before your social media IDs. What would your tip of the day be for all the young bloods out there thinking of coming up, just like you?
Yeah. So the tips and the advice that I would give is, don't let the other opinions of others sit with you. It's mainly just you have a dream and you have inspiration, and that inspiration came from somewhere. So it's a work in progress and it will take time, but always continue to keep going and just be strong and stay consistent with it.
Hey folks, the BMD here on my show, Meet the Band. If you or your group would like to be a guest on the show, email us at thebmdpodcast@gmail.com. See you then.